When my competitive robotics team and I piece together the base, the lift, the intake of our robot, there's this moment when it all just clicks. The chains align, the motors hum, and suddenly, something that was once just an idea in our heads is now moving, responding, and most importantly, working. Of course, when we go to competitions, we are there to win. I'd be lying if I say we weren't. But that's not why I do it. I do it because of this robot. It's our baby, our brainchild. It's something we've poured hours into designing, refining, and troubleshooting. And when it finally moves on its own, when it completes a task flawlessly, that feeling of accomplishment is simply unmatched. But the moment that truly changed how I see robotics, the moment that made me realize this isn't just a hobby. It's my future. It's our future. Happened outside of competitions. I was at a Lego factory, watching their robots move boxes into storage. I stood there, frozen, mouth slightly open, but at that moment, I didn't care. I thought, wait, we built this. Same mechanics, same automation, just on an industrial scale. What we are doing in school isn't just a game. This is preparation for the real world. A world where right this second, robots are searching for ancient signs of life on Mars, assisting doctors in life-threatening surgeries, and cleaning up after climate catastrophe zones, unsafe for humans to enter. But despite all of this, school still treats robotics as an extracurricular activity. English and math are considered core subjects. But now I ask you, if the world is clearly moving towards a future of automation and technology, shouldn't we refine what core really means? How are students meant to know if they want to become builders, coders, engineers, if all they are taught in school is theory? Now, I get it. Not every kid's going to become an engineer. But that is not the point. Because I found that the most valuable lesson that robotics taught me wasn't how to wire a robot or build a base. It's how to work with people, the soft skills. Because no matter how much technology advances in the future of work won't just be about knowing facts. It'll be about knowing how we collaborate. And that will determine success in every single career. Now, the three most important soft skills robotics has taught me: communication, problem solving, and creative thinking. Firstly, communication. Robotics is a simulation of the workplace. And in any workplace, one thing is certain. If you can't explain your ideas, well, they might as well not exist. In robotics, every team member has their own role. The coders, builders, drivers, logistics, they all see the same project, but from different angles. And let me tell you, we don't always see eye to eye. What a coder thinks is possible might be a nightmare for the builder. What the driver wants might push the limits of what is physically realistic. At first, putting a bunch of teenagers in a room to build a robot, yeah, it wasn't exactly conflict-free. There was a lot of arguing, door slamming, eye rolling, but over time, something changed. We matured together, and it's not because someone taught us how. It's because robotics forced us to. We started sitting down, laying out our ideas, comparing resources, analyzing the pros and cons of each approach. We merged our ideas, compromised, and ultimately built something better than any single one of us could have done on our own. Problem solving. Anyone who's ever been on a robotics team will tell you the first prototype, it never works. The newbies, they always look at their first prototype with a smug look on their face until an older member tells them they're not even halfway done. What they don't understand is that robotics is a consistent cycle of trial, error, and refinement. You don't just build a robot. You build it, you break it, you fix it, and repeat. But with every failed attempt, you get a little closer to a working solution. We're not used to this kind of thinking. In schools, problems are usually laid out in little neat steps, like a math problem with A, B, and C parts, all building upon each other to reach a final answer. In real life, you are handed with a messy, moving system and expected to make it work. At the first tech qualifiers, a robotics competition where the best global teams compete in themed challenges, our lift, it stopped working. 15 minutes before our match. No instructions, no timeouts, just pressure and pure panic. But then, something amazing happened. No yelling, no confusion. Everyone on our team immediately came together. We began systematically crossing off what couldn't be the problem until we found it. One tiny screw had come loose and jammed the entire mechanism. We don't get the skill of critical thinking taught to us in school. But in real life, this is how everything functions. You don't get solutions handed to you. Creative thinking. Robotics isn't creative. That's what I hear many people tell me. They associate creativity with art, music, dance. But trust me, search a little deeper and you will find that robotics is its own form of art. Designing a robot is like walking a tightrope between wild and brilliant ideas and the harsh reality of what is actually possible with your materials, your tools, and your time. At the first global competition, an Olympic-style robotics competition with over 190 countries competing, our team, we came up with a lift mechanism we were genuinely excited about. On paper, it was perfect. The moment we opened our kits, we hit a wall. We didn't have the parts we needed. But that is when the real creativity kicked in. We started experimenting, cutting parts, filing down others, reimagining how we could combine components in new ways. It wasn't easy, but eventually we built something that resembled our original idea, and it worked. Without this kind of creative thinking, we would have been stuck, following the build guide like everyone else. And yes, those robots can be good, but no, they will never be great. Because great innovation in real life, as in robotics, doesn't come from copying what already exists. It comes from questioning assumptions, analyzing pre-existing patterns, and then creating something new. Robotics gives us the space to practice this kind of thinking, to fail, to try again, dream something bold, and then figure out how to make it work. For me, robotics has been nothing short of transformative. It's become such a big part of my life that honestly, I can't imagine myself without it. That moment when everything finally functions as it's supposed to, the code runs, the design holds, that is a feeling I'll miss more than I can put into words after I graduate. But even when that feeling does fade, I know the lessons I've learned will stay with me. Because no matter what career I choose to pursue in the future, there will always be space for communicators, problem solvers, and creative thinkers. Schools, they shouldn't be preparing us for tests. They should be preparing us for life. And quite frankly, robotics is the only place in school where I feel like I'm getting taught something that is useful for my future. If English and math are considered core subjects because they teach students how to calculate and how to communicate, well then you know what? Robotics should be considered core too, because it teaches us how to innovate. It's about time that schools stop treating robotics as a hobby and start recognizing it for what it really is. An essential part of education that shapes how we think, how we learn, and how we grow. And that is something that I believe every student should have access to.